The black mail-order bride was terrified, until the rancher's little girl asked, "Can you be Mama?" As the widowed mountain man watched from his doorway, uncertain if this trembling woman could fill the void in his daughter's heart. The frontier town had already dismissed her as another desperate soul, destined for abandonment and disgrace. They whispered she'd be gone within the week, broken by the harsh reality of unwanted women in untamed territory. But the scarred rancher saw something different, a fierce intelligence behind her frightened eyes that matched his own hidden desperation. His motherless child clung to strangers, searching for the love stolen by tragedy, while he battled guilt that consumed him daily. Neither knew that her arrival would trigger a scheme involving a hidden fortune that could destroy them all, forcing enemies from her past to surface with legal weapons designed to tear apart any hope of belonging they might build together. Would their fragile bond survive the conspiracy aimed at claiming her inheritance? Or would outside forces shatter this unlikely family before love could take root? Before we continue, comment where you are tuning in from. Perhaps we will publish a story there. The dust hadn't settled from the stagecoach wheels when Letitia Jameson knew she'd made a terrible mistake. Pine Ridge, Wyoming territory stretched before her like a barren promise, all wooden buildings and suspicious stairs. She clutched the worn letter from Marcus Holloway, her intended husband, feeling the weight of every eye upon her. The general store's wooden steps creaked under her boots. Inside, conversations died the moment she appeared. A tall man with pale eyes and a cruel mouth stepped forward. This had to be Marcus. "You the bride from Philadelphia?" His voice carried no warmth. "Yes, sir. Letitia Jameson." Marcus circled her like she was livestock at auction. His expression soured with each step. "Letter said you were refined. Didn't mention other things." Heat flooded her cheeks. The store's patrons whispered behind their hands, making no effort to hide their stares. "This ain't what I ordered." Marcus shook his head. "Too educated, too independent, too—" He waved his hand dismissively. "I need a wife who knows her place." The words hit like physical blows. Letitia froze her throat. The men formed a tighter circle. Then a deep voice cut through the tension. "Ladies got protection." A weathered rancher approached on horseback, leading a pack mule. Dust coated his broad shoulders and worn hat. Scars marked his hands. Something in his steady gaze made the three cowboys step back. "Didn't see you there, McIntyre." The largest cowboy forced a laugh. "Just being neighborly." "Find somewhere else to neighbor." The men scattered like leaves in wind. The rancher dismounted, studying her with careful eyes. "You hurt?" "No, sir." Her voice barely worked. "Got somewhere to stay?" The question hung in the air. They both knew the answer. "Climb up." He nodded toward his horse. "Ranch is 20 miles out, safe there." During the loading of her carpet bag, disaster struck. The worn leather split, spilling her belongings across the dust. Letters scattered like autumn leaves. The rancher helped gather them, his eyes catching on official letterhead before quickly looking away. One letter bore her father's law firm seal. Another carried the Philadelphia Bank's emblem. Letitia snatched them up, but too late. The rancher had seen enough. "You running from something?" "Not running to something. Running from someone." The words tumbled out. "My stepmother. She arranged this marriage to get me out of Philadelphia before my 25th birthday." "Why's that matter?" "My father left me an inheritance. I can claim it at 25th birthday or marriage. She gets everything if something happens to me first." The rancher studied her face, searching for lies. "That why you came west? For money?" "I came west to survive 3 years until I can claim what's rightfully mine." Something in her tone convinced him. He nodded once. "Name's Silas McIntyre." Letitia Jameson. We'll figure this out at the ranch. The ride passed in silence through endless prairie. Mountains rose like ancient guardians in the distance. No other humans existed in this vastness, only wind and grass and possibility. The ranch appeared suddenly, a cluster of wooden buildings nestled in a valley. Could offer. She was a stranger, a refugee, a woman with no experience raising children. The words wouldn't come. Silas's jaw tightened. Emma, Miss Jameson is just staying temporarily. She'll help teach you letters and such. The little girl's face fell. She'd heard those words before, from other women who'd promised and left. Inside, both of you. Silas's tone brooked no argument. We need to discuss arrangements. The cabin was sparse but clean. A stone fireplace dominated one wall. Simple furniture filled the space. Everything spoke of a man trying to create a home without knowing how. You can tutor Emma. Help with household work. I'll provide room, board, protection from town gossip. Silas removed his hat. Fair trade, until you figure out your next move. Letitia looked at Emma, who watched her with desperate hope barely contained. This child had been disappointed before. One more abandonment might break something irreparable. I accept. Emma's smile was like sunrise after the longest night. The first week nearly broke her. Letitia burned breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The wood stove behaved like a wild animal, refusing her commands. Smoke filled the cabin twice. Emma watched each disaster with patient eyes, too polite to comment. Maybe start with something simple, Silas suggested after scraping charred beans from the pot. I can read Latin. I should be able to cook beans. Different skills. He was right. Her father had educated her mind, but never her hands. In Philadelphia, servants handled cooking. Here, survival depended on mastering tasks no finishing school taught. Emma became her unlikely teacher. The 6-year-old showed her which logs burned best, how to bank coals, where to find eggs. The child's knowledge humbled her daily. Mama used to sing while she cooked, Emma mentioned, stirring cornbread batter with tiny hands. What songs did she like? Pretty ones, about flowers and birds. Emma's voice grew wistful. She had yellow hair, like Mama. Laughter filled spaces that had been silent too long. The third week brought their first trip to town. Emma needed shoes. Letitia needed supplies. Silas warned them both about expectations. Keep your heads up. Don't let them see weakness. Pine Ridge welcomed them with cold stares and whispered comments. The mercantile fell quiet when they entered. Children pointed until their mothers shushed them. Emma pressed closer to Letitia's side. Cyrus Wade commanded attention from behind the bank's polished counter. His voice carried across the street. Shameful arrangement out at the McIntyre place. That child needs proper Christian influence. Other voices joined his chorus. The arrangement was improper. Silas had lost his moral compass. Emma would suffer for her father's poor judgment. Letitia's hands trembled as she selected fabric. Each comment cut deeper. Emma's grip on her skirt tightened. Don't listen to them, she whispered to the child. Why are they angry at us? Some people fear what they don't understand. The shoe fitting took forever. Emma's feet had grown since her last pair. The storekeeper's wife handled the task with cool efficiency, avoiding conversation beyond necessity. Outside, Marcus Holloway waited by their wagon. He'd gained weight since their first meeting. His smile held no warmth. "Letitia, heard you landed on your feet." "Mr. Holloway, been thinking about our arrangement. Made a hasty decision. Perhaps we could discuss terms again." Emma moved behind Letitia like a shield. The child's instincts were sharp. "There's nothing to discuss. Heard interesting things about your family circumstances. Philadelphia money changes perspectives." Her blood chilled. Someone had been talking. Someone knew about the inheritance. "My circumstances are private." "Nothing's private in a small town." Marcus stepped closer. "Think about it. Proper marriage. Respectable future. Better than charity work on a failing ranch." Silas appeared before she could respond. His presence changed everything. Marcus backed away, hands raised in mock surrender. "Just catching up with an old friend." "Catching's done." Silas's voice carried warning. "Move along." Promises were dangerous things. Life held no guarantees. But Emma's desperate hope demanded an answer. "I promise." That evening brought unexpected visitors. Jake Morrison, one of Silas's ranch hands, stumbled to the door bleeding from a deep gash on his arm. A spooked horse had kicked him into barbed wire. "Need the doc," Jake gasped. "Doc's in Denver until next week," Silas said. Letitia stepped forward, her father's medical training surfacing. "Bring him inside." "Emma, fetch clean towels and hot water." Her hands moved with remembered confidence. She'd assisted her father countless times before his death. Anatomy lessons translated into practical skill. "Hold still. This needs cleaning before stitching." Jake's eyes widened. "You know doctoring?" "Some." She threaded the needle with steady fingers. "My father taught me basic medicine." The wound was deep but clean. Her stitches were small and even. Jake's bleeding stopped. Color returned to his face. "Never seen handiwork that neat," Silas observed. "Where'd you learn?" "Papa believed daughters should understand healing. Said death was too often just ignorance." She bandaged Jake's arm with professional precision. The man's gratitude was overwhelming. Word of her skill would spread through the territory. Emma watched everything with wide eyes. "You fixed him." "Bodies heal themselves. I just helped." "Can you teach me?" "Someday." That night, Emma fell asleep holding Letitia's hand. The child's trust was a precious, fragile thing. Outside, wind howled across empty prairie, but inside, something like family was taking root. The blizzard arrived without warning in late October. One moment Emma played in autumn sunshine. The next she pressed her face against windows streaked with driving snow. Wind howled like wounded animals across the prairie. "How long will it last?" Letitia asked, watching Silas secure the barn doors. "Could be days, could be weeks." He stomped snow from his boots. "Good thing we stocked supplies." The first week passed pleasantly enough. They played cards by lamplight. Letitia taught Emma arithmetic using beans. Silas carved wood, prepared her for this moment, without her knowing. Long afternoons in his study suddenly made sense. He'd described pneumonia symptoms with clinical precision, explained fluid accumulation in lungs, detailed treatments when proper medicine wasn't available. "I need steam. Lots of it." She boiled water in every pot they owned. Steam filled Emma's small bedroom like fog. Letitia positioned the child upright against pillows, remembering her father's words about drainage and breathing. The angle matters. Gravity helps clear the lungs. Silas watched from the doorway, helpless. His capable hands could mend fences and birth calves, but couldn't fix his daughter's labored breathing. "Tell me what to do." "Keep the water boiling. Bring clean cloth. And pray." The second night nearly broke them all. Emma's fever spiked dangerously high. Delirium set in. She spoke to people who weren't there, reaching for invisible hands. "Mama?" Emma's voice was barely a whisper. "Mama? Where are you?" Letitia's heart shattered. The child was calling for her dead mother, lost in fever dreams that offered no comfort. "I'm here, sweetheart." "Mama? It hurts to breathe." Without thinking, Letitia smoothed Emma's damp hair. "Mama's here. Rest now." Emma's eyes focused briefly on her face. "You're not Mama." "No, but I love you just the same." The child's hand found hers. "Will you stay anyway?" "Always." Emma drifted back into restless sleep. Letitia maintained her vigil, applying cool cloths to bring down fever, adjusting pillows to ease breathing, singing lullabies her own mother had shared. Her father's voice echoed in memory. He'd lost patients to pneumonia despite medical training and proper facilities. Here in the wilderness, with only basic supplies, Emma's chances seemed impossibly small. "The crisis comes on the third night," he'd explained during one of their medical discussions. "The body either finds strength to fight or surrenders to the infection." Silas collapsed in a chair beside the bed, exhaustion etched in every line of his face. He'd lost one woman he loved to fever and childbirth mouth, and breathed life into tiny lungs. Once. Twice. 3 times. Emma gasped and resumed breathing on her own. "What did you do?" Silas demanded. "Something my father taught me. Sometimes breath needs assistance." She performed the procedure twice more through the night when Emma's breathing faltered. Each time the child responded. Each time, Letitia wondered if it would be the last. Dawn brought a miracle. Emma's fever broke in a rush of sweat that soaked through her nightgown. Her breathing eased. Color returned to her lips. "Mama?" Emma's eyes opened, clear and focused. Letitia started to correct her, but Emma's small hand squeezed hers. "I know you're not my first mama, but can you be my now mama?" Tears blurred Letitia's vision. "If you want me to be, I do. I asked God to let me keep you." Silas stepped forward, his own eyes wet. "Looks like God said yes." Emma smiled for the first time in days. "Now, Mama, I'm hungry." The simple request for food meant everything. The crisis had passed. Emma would recover. Their unlikely family had survived its first real test. Outside, the blizzard continued to rage. But inside the cabin, something fundamental had changed. Letitia was no longer a temporary arrangement or hired help. She was Mama, chosen by a child's heart and confirmed by her own actions. The inheritance that had brought her west suddenly mattered less than the small hand still holding hers. Love had found her in the most unlikely place, wearing the face of a motherless child who'd decided to claim her. Recovery would take time, but they had survived the worst night together. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them as a family. Spring arrived with news that shattered their fragile peace. The mail carrier brought official documents bearing Philadelphia legal seals. Letitia's hands trembled as she broke the wax. Legal challenge to inheritance claim based on moral conduct violations, she read aloud. Silas looked up from repairing bridles. "What's that mean?" "My stepmother is trying to invalidate my father's will. Claims of territorial authorities that Silas was an unfit father, influenced by an immoral arrangement." "They want to take Emma?" Silas's face went white. Wade's painting us as corrupting influences on each other and your daughter. Emma looked up from her toys. Take me where? Nowhere, sweetheart. Just grown-up talk. But Emma was too smart to be fooled. She'd heard enough conversations about the town's disapproval. Children absorbed more than adults realized. Over the following days, more pieces of Wade's scheme emerged. Jake Morrison brought gossip from town. Wade had been meeting with strangers, men in city clothes who asked questions about the McIntyre ranch. Heard one of them claim to be a lawyer, Jake reported, from Philadelphia. Eleanor Jameson had hired investigators. They documented Letitia's living arrangements, interviewed hostile townspeople, gathered testimony about improper conduct. The case against her was substantial. Why's Wade doing this? Emma asked one evening. Silas and Letitia exchanged glances. How did you explain greed and prejudice to a child? Some people don't like our family, Letitia said carefully. But we're good people. Yes, we are. But not everyone sees it that way. The pressure mounted daily. Neighbors who'd been neutral before chose sides. The general store owner refused Letitia's business. The preacher's wife crossed the street to avoid her. Pine Ridge was dividing into camps. Marcus Holloway reappeared with renewed interest. His courtship became aggressive, persistent. He cornered Letitia outside the mercantile when Silas wasn't present. Marry me now and all this goes away, he urged. Your stepmother gets nothing. Wade loses his case. I won't be blackmailed into marriage. It's not blackmail. It's survival. You think McIntyre will choose you over his daughter? The cruel words hit their target. Letitia had wondered the same thing. If forced to choose between her and Emma's custody, what would Silas do? That night she found Silas on the porch staring at stars. The weight of impending loss hung between them like smoke. Maybe I should leave, she said quietly. Situation, and make recommendations about her future. What if they decide Silas is unfit? Letitia asked Jake privately. Town's got people willing to take her in. Wade's been talking to the preacher's family. The thought of Emma torn from her chosen family and placed with strangers horrified Letitia. The child had already lost one mother to death. Now adults threatened to steal her second mother through legal manipulation. Emma seemed to sense the growing crisis. She clung closer to Letitia, following her from room to room like a shadow. At night, she climbed into bed between her father and now Mama, seeking security from their warmth. Are they really going to take me away? She asked one morning while they gathered eggs. Letitia knelt to Emma's eye level. We won't let that happen. Promise? Promises had become dangerous things, but Emma's trust demanded honesty wrapped in hope. We'll fight for our family. That's what people do when they love each other. The child seemed satisfied with that answer. She resumed collecting eggs with renewed purpose, humming the lullabies Letitia had taught her. That afternoon, Silas made a decision that surprised them both. We need to get married. Before the hearing. Letitia stared at him. A marriage of convenience won't fool anyone. Won't be convenience. His voice was quiet but firm. Been thinking about this for weeks. Since Emma got sick and I watched you fight for her like she was your own blood. Silas. I love you, Letitia. Not just grateful for what you've done. Love you. Want to build a real life together. Not just an arrangement. The words hung in the air like a bridge between their past and future. Emma peered around the doorway, listening with the intensity only children possessed. Will that make us a real family? Emma asked. We're already real, Silas said. This just makes it legal. The town hall buzzed with whispered conversations when the McIntyre family arrived. Every seat was filled. Curious faces turned to watch their entrance. Wade sat behind a polished table with two Philadelphia lawyers, confidence radiating from his satisfied smile. Emma wore her best dress, freshly pressed and carefully mended. She held investigative services. "This child has been exposed to moral corruption," Wade declared. "Her father lacks judgment necessary for proper child rearing." The Philadelphia lawyers presented Eleanor Jameson's case. If Letitia was declared morally unfit, her inheritance would revert to her stepmother. The financial motivation was clear to everyone present. "Character witnesses will demonstrate a pattern of inappropriate behavior," the lead lawyer announced. Marcus Holloway testified first. He described Letitia's calculating nature and her rejection of his honorable proposal. His words painted her as a gold digger who'd manipulated her way into Silas's household. 3 townspeople followed, each describing scenes they'd witnessed. Letitia and Silas working together without chaperones. Emma calling an unmarried woman mama. The improper intimacy of their arrangement. The mercantile owner's wife spoke last. "That child needs proper Christian guidance, not whatever influence that woman provides." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. Wade's case seemed airtight. The McIntyre family appeared doomed. Then Emma stood up. "I want to talk." Judge Harrison frowned. "Child testimony requires special consideration." "She's 6 years old," Wade protested. "Hardly a reliable witness." "I'm smart for 6, Emma said loudly. "Everyone says so." Nervous laughter broke the tension. Judge Harrison studied the determined little girl. Something in her bearing commanded respect. "Very well. Come forward." Emma walked to the front of the room with steady steps. She faced the crowd without fear, her small voice carrying clearly. "Miss Letitia saved my life when I was sick. She stayed awake for 3 days taking care of me. She breathed air into my lungs when I stopped breathing." Wade shifted uncomfortably. This wasn't going according to plan. "She teaches me reading and writing and arithmetic. She sings me songs when I have bad dreams. She fixed Jake Morrison's arm when he got hurt." Emma's voice grew stronger. "She makes Papa smile again." "Emma," Judge Harrison said gently, "do you understand what these people are saying about your family? They're saying mean things because they don't like us." He faced the crowd directly, meeting hostile stares with steady resolve. "She saved my daughter's life, using skills her father taught her. She brought education and kindness to our home. She made us a family when we were just 2 people surviving." "Your Honor," Wade interrupted, "this emotional display doesn't address the moral violations that occurred before their convenient marriage." "What violations?" Jake Morrison stood from the back of the room. "Taking care of a sick child? Teaching her to read? Fixing my busted arm when the doc wasn't available." Other voices joined his. The blacksmith described Letitia's kindness to his wife during a difficult birth. The school teacher praised Emma's sudden improvement in learning. Ranch hands testified to Letitia's character and medical skills. "She never did nothing improper," Jake declared. "Slept in the barn loft most nights to avoid gossip. Chaperoned herself better than most married women." The Philadelphia lawyer stood desperately. "These witnesses are biased. They have financial interests in supporting the McIntyre family." "What financial interests?" Judge Harrison asked. The lawyer fumbled for an answer. There were none. These people gained nothing by defending Letitia, except the satisfaction of supporting truth. Judge Harrison called for Wade's correspondence with Eleanor Jameson. The letters revealed the conspiracy in damning detail. Wade had been paid to destroy Letitia's reputation. Eleanor wanted the inheritance for herself. This hearing was initiated under false pretenses, the judge declared. "Mr. Wade, you've wasted this court's time with manufactured evidence." Wade's confidence crumbled. His Philadelphia allies gathered their papers hastily, preparing to retreat. The child custody challenge is dismissed. Emma McIntyre remains with her father and stepmother. Judge Harrison's gavel struck with finality. Furthermore, this court finds no evidence of moral unfitness regarding Mrs. McIntyre. The inheritance challenge collapsed instantly. Eleanor Jameson's scheme had backfired completely. Letitia's conduct was officially deemed exemplary rather than scandalous. Emma ran to her parents, throwing small arms around both their waists. The crowd began to disperse, conversations shifting from condemnation to acceptance. Wade slipped out through a side, bloomed across the prairie, like nature's celebration. Emma scattered rose petals from Letitia's carefully tended garden while Jake Morrison played fiddle. Judge Harrison performed the ceremony, having volunteered after witnessing their courtroom defense of family. His words were simple, but profound, speaking of love that grows through shared hardship rather than fleeting attraction. Do you, Silas McIntyre, take Letitia to be your wife in all circumstances? I do. Do you, Letitia McIntyre, take Silas to be your husband through whatever may come? I do. Emma bounced on her toes during the kiss, clapping so enthusiastically that everyone laughed. The preacher's wife had baked a cake. Ranch hands brought gifts whittled from wood and hammered from metal. The community that had once shunned them now embraced them fully. That evening, while Emma slept peacefully in her own bed, Silas and Letitia sat on their porch planning the future. The inheritance had been officially secured. Eleanor Jameson's legal challenges were permanently dismissed. Wade had left town in disgrace, his banking position revoked. What do you want to do with the money? Silas asked. Build something lasting. Letitia's hand rested on her growing belly. The baby would arrive by spring. Something that helps other families like ours. They decided on a school. Pine Ridge desperately needed education for its children. Letitia's inheritance could fund a proper building, hire qualified teachers, and provide books for students whose parents couldn't afford them. Construction began in summer. The whole community participated. Men donated labor and materials. Women organized meals for workers. Children carried water and sorted supplies. The school became everyone's project. Emma supervised everything with 6-year-old importance. She'd appointed herself assistant architect, offering suggestions about window placement and playground design. Her excitement was infectious. The desks should face east for morning light, she announced importantly. Good thinking, Letitia agreed. You'll be our first student. Can I help teach the little ones reading? When you're older, absolutely. Refusing to show fear. Your inheritance won't last forever. It doesn't need to. We're building something permanent. Silas appeared around the barn corner, having heard voices. His expression made Marcus step backward quickly. Time for you to leave. For good this time. Marcus stumbled toward his horse, muttering complaints about ungrateful women and poor decisions. None of them ever saw him again. Winter brought unexpected joy. Baby Sarah arrived during a February blizzard, with Emma serving as assistant midwife. The little girl took her big sister role seriously, helping with feeding and diaper changes. She looks like Papa, but has your smart eyes, Emma observed, holding the baby carefully. All babies have smart eyes, Letitia said. They're learning everything at once. Will you teach her medicine like your papa taught you? If she wants to learn. Spring revealed the school's success. Test scores exceeded territorial standards. 3 students were ready for advanced education in Denver. The community took pride in their children's achievements. Letitia established a lending library in the school's back room. Books arrived monthly from Eastern publishers. Adults borrowed volumes as eagerly as children, creating an atmosphere of lifelong learning. The ranch prospered too. Silas's cattle operation expanded with careful investment of inheritance funds. He hired additional hands, improved facilities, and developed breeding programs that attracted buyers from across the territory. Emma's 8th birthday party filled their yard with friends and neighbors. The shy, motherless girl had become a confident leader among local children. She organized games, settled arguments, and ensured everyone felt included. "Make a wish," Letitia said, lighting candles on the cake. Emma closed her eyes tightly. When she opened them, her smile was radiant. "What did you wish for?" Sarah asked. At 18 months, the baby was already talking in full sentences. "Can't tell, or it won't come true." But it was about our family. That evening, after guests departed and children were tucked into bed, Silas and Letitia sat on their porch, watching sunset paint the prairie gold and level. "She's teaching Sarah the alphabet song," Silas observed. "Our teacher training the next generation." A letter had arrived that week from the territorial government. They wanted to establish more schools using the Pine Ridge model. Letitia's educational experiment was being studied for broader implementation. "Never imagined when I got on that train in Philadelphia that I'd end up here," she mused. "Teaching school, raising 2 daughters, married to a stubborn rancher. Creating the family I'd always dreamed of, but never dared hope for." Emma appeared in the doorway wearing her nightgown. Sarah balanced on her hip. "Sarah won't sleep without saying goodnight to Mama and Papa again." They gathered their daughters close, 4 hearts beating in harmony under the endless prairie sky. The inheritance that had brought Letitia west was nearly spent, invested in land, education, and community. But the true treasure she'd found couldn't be measured in dollars. Love had grown from the simple question of a lonely child. Family had formed through shared storms and quiet moments. Home had been built not with money, but with daily choices to stay, to care, and to belong. Emma's wish on her birthday candles had been for their family to stay together forever. Looking at the life they'd created, Letitia knew some wishes were destined to come true.